Time to clean up my music business with some gig soap.
Take me through the water.
Hello, welcome to the Gig Soap Podcast. My name's Chad Borquin, and we are starting season 2, first episode here with Amanda Alvarez from Twice on Sunday. Thanks for joining us, Amanda.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here in your next season.
Yes, for sure. I've gotten to know Amanda over the last, I guess, probably year maybe or so. We've been working together on her projects with Twice on Sunday and just everything she's got, which is an incredible organization she's developed from scratch. That's turned into something that's just really become something special and really focusing a lot on the wedding market as well as the corporate market, special event type things as well. And it's just an incredible job. She's got a great organization with her musicians and just people that just all, I mean, they're teared up. I get nothing but amazing reviews back about anything you guys ever do. So I'm excited to have you here. So,
Oh, that's such a nice intro. Thank you.
well, I mean, I didn't write it down. I was just it. That was it.
You're just ripping. All right. I love
Yeah.
that.
So there is, before we get into just kind of some things that I think would be really helpful for musicians and those leaders that are out there running their own groups, let's talk a little bit about where you've come from and what got you started and some of that. What got you into music first of all to begin with?
Oh, wow. I have such a wild journey getting here. Uh, I mean, we go all the way back to like 2001. I'm like fresh out of high school, kind of first major job. I'm working at the Home Depot as a manager. Uh, I started managing really young in the retail environment, and somebody found out, I can't remember how that I could sing and said, "Hey, there's this, entity that does DJ and karaoke, and maybe you could do some moonlighting doing that." And so I did, and I did that really strong for like 11 years. So I was, 6 nights a week, many, many years doing karaoke on top of working various day jobs that changed over those 11 years, but the entertaining stayed there. Um, and during that same course, working 5 nights a week in, or, whatever in clubs, there were some weddings in there too. And so I cut my teeth really young, doing weddings. And then I worked in the luxury jewelry business where I sold engagement rings and found myself even more embroiled in the wedding market and started going to wedding shows, trade shows, conferences, and things because of the wedding business. And I saw other musical organizations there peddling their DJ services and band services. And so I branched out of working for another DJ organization at that time, the one I'd been working for 11 years, and started my own business. Started DJing really heavily weddings on my own. Um, and word of mouth spread pretty well in that time, just me by myself DJing. And then I was also in a classic rock band. And at some point, I decided I wanted to do live music in the wedding space. And I was introduced to Chris Davis, who owns Lost Wax, and we made a relationship. I began working for him, and he really helped me develop Twice on Sunday in the beginning and taught me the ropes, live music and weddings together. I had a lot of wedding experience, but he kind of taught me how to develop a product that made sense for weddings from in live music, and kind of how to organize the events. And then now 11 years later, Twice on Sunday is really, we're doing really well. I mean, we're going to do end this year with about 160 events, and I expect next year
Hmm.
that's going to be like 200. So it's really, really grown. I hired a bunch of really very, very talented people. A lot of them have been referred to me, so I can't even take credit for them being here, necessarily. And I'm very fortunate that this has grown into the thing that it has. So
One of the there's a number of cool things in that story that are popping out to me. One of them is that the journey has helped define really where your niche is at. I mean, the fact that you went in from, actually working for a jewelry store, you know, I mean, you had all these things line up that really, we say all the time, you don't know what you don't know. But also you probably know more than you think, in some areas, we forget stuff that we know that other people don't know. So, like, for example, what's with some of the things can you say, like, okay, this jewelry experience really carried over to what you're doing now?
I learned how to do sales there,
Hmm.
face to face and working with couples and in the very first part of their journey, which is what I'm doing now. And, of course, that's before the wedding is set. But, you kind of
Hmm.
learn what that looks like, what their hopes and dreams are. They do talk about their weddings, even in the engagement shopping process. So I learned sales and how to work with couples really, really early. Um, and then going to those wedding shows and being exposed, because we would take the men's jewelry to the wedding shows and sell men's wedding rings there. And just, that just introduced me to the wedding market, and how to network. And that started really early on there. I mean, I was in my early 20s when this was when I was working for the jewelry store, and I worked for them for a good 8 years too, and on
Mm.
top, while moonlighting as a wedding DJ. So it was just weddings all the time. So
Yeah, and one of the other things you mentioned, which I think is so key, was how much Chris, having any mentor, but in your case, you had a mentor that was doing and showing you how to do where you were headed. What do you think about that? What's some of the things you got from that?
yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like I can say now looking back that at some point I would have gotten somewhere with a live music operation in the wedding industry, that because that was the goal. I would have found my way. But I can absolutely say that it would have taken far longer.
Right.
And I would have stumbled a lot more times, if not for his mentorship, and introducing me to the players in this industry, like the people that you need to know, and just getting to know some of the things that he stumbled on, you know, it was very gracious. I mean, I will forever be indebted to him for, kind of passing a torch to me of sorts. Like his torch is still lit, but
Right.
passing this to me. So,
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
a
I'm
great
sorry, go
human.
ahead.
Yeah.
Well, how powerful is that? I mean, to be able to just not have to make all the mistakes yourself, right?
Yeah. I mean, making mistakes is very costly financially,
Hmm.
and it's hard, we still stumble. I mean, there's always going to be things that you go, I could have never imagined that I could have never foreseen. There are unforeseeable things that are just going to happen forever, but and that could really be enough to discourage a person coming in with very little revenue coming in the beginning, right? These kinds of stumbles could absolutely take you out before you can even get going, whether financially or just mentally, emotionally, physically, any of those things. Um, so yeah, his mentorship eliminated, um, and at least enough of that we could make our way to where we are now. So it's
Yeah.
invaluable. I mean, I could not put a price tag on
Right.
what that has meant to us. So
Yeah, for sure. Let's shift a little bit to the job, the wedding. The when you get there. Yeah, I mean, there's, you're dealing with one of, if not the biggest moments in most people's lives. There's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
you know, and so, and we all know that there's every bride and every groom handles this very, very differently.
Yes.
And so sometimes there's challenges with personalities there, and perception of what's possible versus what they want. How have you navigated just those relationships?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, the pressure is immense. I mean, when you're in this is not like making widgets, right? Where if you make a widget and it breaks, that you could just simply give someone a refund and apologize and or give them a new widget, right? We are doing something that cannot be recreated or replaced, and it's we're in a very high pressure situation. Um, on wedding day, trying to make all the magic happen. All the electronics have to work in our favor. You have to have backups for your backups. There's a lot of technology. So yeah, the pressure is immense. Um, in the planning process, people are usually pretty gracious and understanding that we are musicians and humans, and it takes a lot of time to learn the material or to make things happen. We've got a really robust playlist at this point. I mean, after 11 years of doing this, you collect a lot of material and you have some things in your back pocket. But there's a lot of work involved, and sometimes I will say it is hard to say no or create boundaries in this environment because, you are providing a service one time and on a day that is so important, um, that, things kind of you get project creep a little bit because it's hard to say that it's hard to tell a bride and groom or a couple that this is going to be hard. This is going to be a lot of work for the musicians. It's hard to communicate that. So you just really try to do it delicately. If something truly is going to be hard, and maintain some boundaries so that I want to feel like we're putting out the best product for their purposes, obviously, and then for our own, for the people that are seeing us in the audience, and for our own reputation. So those boundaries are not only important for them getting a good end product, but us putting out the best representation for ourselves for the future. So it's a real delicate balance,
Mhm.
trying to navigate, when to, like, okay, I don't know that we can do that, or even though we desperately want to do that for you, I think it would be best if we, do what we know how to do best, so that the musicians are the most engaged with your audience, etc. So just trying to explain those things, in real simple terms, and then finding like balance, compromise, between making their day extra, extra special, but
Mhm.
not pushing ourselves to the point that we may drop the ball or make a mistake, just by having the workload being too heavy. So that's definitely a challenge that we face
Mhm.
in the planning process. But we always listen. We invite uh, ideas. In fact, with our wedding planner relationships, planners are, who designs the event, who is going to come to the client or to us oftentimes and say, I have this idea, or the client has this idea. And we want to try to make that magic happen. In fact, that's one of the things that we try to do to set ourselves apart, is to say, here's some magical things you haven't seen before. Try to reinvent the wheel a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, so, but you have to find balance between doing those things, like what you're capable of and the volume at which you're capable of it, and then make sure you set clear expectations with the planners, clients, about what can be done and what cannot. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes they just come with bad ideas, right? I mean, in other words, it's not going to have the result they wanted, but they don't know any better, right? Isn't that the case?
Ye yeah,
Mm.
well, sometimes I think there's um a notion or it after doing this a long time, you kind of start to figure out that there is, I think, an idea that musicians just kind of know songs or could like already know all the songs, right? If you're a professional
Mhm.
musician, you must know these, or it won't take long to do these to work these up. When in fact the musicians are working so hard. I mean, singers listening to songs on repeat while they're brushing their teeth and brushing their hair and driving in their car, every week to make these,
Mhm.
song requests happen. Um, and this is one of the things where you have to educate people in the sales process and in the planning process. Like, hey, this does take a lot of time, and at a certain point, we should probably think about compensating these
Mhm.
musicians for if you want us to learn 10 songs for your wedding, we're talking about probably 8 hours of work per musician. If you have not, charts have to be written, tracks have to be made, all these things have to be in place. And by the time you add up all the labor hours across the entire group of people, you're talking about 30, 40 hours of working on something but it seems innocuous, right? To say, "Hey, just learn, don't you already know these 5, 6, 7 songs?" And it's like,
Right.
No, we're gonna have to sit down and get in the workshop and
Mhm.
figure those out." But what happens is, even if the band learns 10 songs for that weekend, they're still not gonna be the most engaging human beings on the stage, right? They're not gonna be as, exciting as they would be doing the material that we have choreographed, let's say. I mean,
Mhm.
dance moves. We have rehearsed to their death here in the office together, where they can get in the crowd, throw microphones in faces. Now you're having a real experience versus them kind of, I'm not saying they're going to
Mhm.
do a bad job, but on the song that they just learned. But if you have 10 of those in an hour time frame or 2 hour time frame, that's significant,
Yeah.
a significant amount of time that they're not able to be engaging or entertaining, and that's not because they're not talented enough to do so, it's just the workload is just too much, it's just too heavy. So the bad ideas, I would say it's really just one, and that is asking the musicians, uh, to do something that really just feasible is not feasible,
Right.
or, something we would recommend despite how innocuous it sounds to just go, "Hey, play these 10 songs that you don't know."
Right.
So, yeah, but bad ideas, also come in the form of, like, audio challenges,
Mhm.
uh, where mom's doing the speeches over here, can we hear it in the other room? That's not really a bad idea, that's part of the logistics of the venue, but we have to tackle some of those production challenges, and there are costs associated with that that people weren't expecting. Um, so yeah, that's one of the things we have to navigate on an almost daily basis is having that conversation with clients. But most people, understand that this
Yeah.
does take work and that these musicians, you know, uh, their hours are valuable. So,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, a lot of people, musicians, I could see would look at this market and see the kind of dollars that are possible to generate and think, "Oh, I want to get into that for the money," you
yeah.
know, and having no idea what they're getting into. Because I mean, you and I have had enough conversations to know that like this is it's a beast of its own.
Mhm.
And I mean, you're not just working with the wedding couple. I mean, there is event planners, there is the caterers, there's the florist, there's all these people involved in this that are all trying to coexist and probably different as a different combination of them every time, right? how has it been learning how to work within something like that where, I mean, you probably have multiple, at least one people that think they're bosses at one specific
Ugh,
event, you know what I mean? You know,
yeah,
from
yeah, 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 well, you do, for us, there is a hierarchy, and that is, um, you know, client and wedding planner almost even
right,
the wedding planner, uh, acts as somebody to just execute, the vision, right? And well, also to contribute to the vision, or wedding planners are insanely talented in what they do, but their biggest role, as far as we're concerned, in terms of being a vendor, is them providing us with a timeline, them giving us cues, and so we actually really lean on them when they are there, to just make sure we aren't doing something out of turn. We haven't, like, a good example would be making an announcement to start speeches, and the photographers are not where they need to be, or they're not ready, so communicating with, all of the vendors, is important, but, the planners really they have the the full vision, and they can look out and go, "Hey, don't start toast yet. Photographers aren't ready." And so when they are there, we're really thankful because we don't have to make decisions on top of trying to execute all the things that we're doing, and be successful in the, just making the music be magical. Um, they take some of that burden off of having to make decisions.
mhm,
Um, but sometimes, just because of the chaos of the day, you may have a mom who comes over, and she may not have the full scope, or, and is inserting, some directions that, we've got, hey, we got to, so we try to lean on the planner and go, let's get that. Let's
mhm,
let's cross those values here with what the planner has, and just make sure that we're not doing something that's not supposed to happen. So it's couple, which we rarely even talk to the couple on wedding day. That's the hope, actually.
right,
The wedding planner makes it so that the vendors aren't coming up and asking questions to the couple. So other than saying hello, we're so happy for you, and hugs and high fives at the end of the night, we usually don't interact with the couple. So at least there is, when a planner's involved, and we're working in a space, at a level where there's almost always a planner involved. So some of the where previously, when we first started doing this, it was a lot of weddings that did not have a planner, but planners cost money.
mhm,
So the budget wasn't there for a planner for whatever reason. And then we were kind of acting as the coordinator for the event, and that's when the vendors are kinda stepping on each other a little bit. Not in a cruel way, or that we're squabbling, it's just that we're going, What should we do? Should we," and then you do have moms and couples approaching you with, a lot of information, and trying to sort that out. But now that there's a planner involved, you can almost always just count on that being your point of reference. You just go straight to them and get the answers that you need, and if they don't know, they're gonna find out for you. So,
yeah,
we're fortunate that now we're uh, at a level where we're working with planners. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's obvious you can hear the passion from you in this, especially this market, and this is not, like I mentioned, some people might get into this just because of the money. You obviously have a passion for this industry because you pay so much attention to the details in it, and just to make sure everything's over the top right. What, first of all, let me ask you, where's that passion come from you on to do this?
um, you know, I think I can empathize with a couple. I mean, I planned a big wedding once upon a time in my own life, and it's challenging. And I understand what it means to want to give your guests an amazing experience. If you're gonna do this, like, you wanna do it right. You want everything to be, to feel good to your guests, everything to feel, um beautiful, uh, and easy to understand um, and exciting. You want to make memory. You want to use this opportunity to make memories. And one thing that stood out to me, I think one of the earliest weddings that I did, I heard, and you hear this all the time in speeches, but that this group of people that come together for a wedding, the aunts, uncles, neighbors, coworkers, college friends, um, somebody said in their speech, uh, this group of people will never all be together in this
Hmm.
space like this. And that really struck me. Like, yes, this is really important. On the surface, it seems like a vanity or like something you do out of some sort of vanity, right? Like a show and tell, but it actually isn't. You're creating this experience, these memories that are going to live with you and live with your family forever. And stories will be told about this day, about how the best man said this and that was hilarious. And
Hmm.
um, this is part of everyone's legacy, truly, in their lives. And I think I have very specific um, relationship with that notion. Um, I do care deeply that this all goes really well for them. But I also am very passionate about, uh, us growing as a result of every one of these events being as close to flawless as it can be. Um, you know, one of the pressures of being in the wedding industry is that a single bad review or a single very bad experience, that word travels among, communities of people. uh, Kansas City is a big little city,
Right.
where, at a certain level, everybody kinda knows everybody, and tales of, wedding lore, live on for a long time. So, there's also a really, deep motivation, to never cause harm to our reputation. Um so there are 2 sides to this. One that's very personal to me and making sure my team is gonna be successful, right? Because I have now, uh, 25, core members of the team that are counting on me, counting on this being their income for some of them maybe forever. Some of them for a short period of time, but some of them for a long time. And, it would be devastating, truly, making one, big enough error at someone's wedding, could really be damaging for careers and again, like we said before, obviously hurting the couple or,
Hmm.
um, something terrible happening at a wedding, terrible enough, uh, can overshadow the whole day. And that you don't want to be that memory that they take with them
Right.
for years and years. And that goes back to the pressure we talked about in the beginning.
Hmm.
So
The one of the things that you had said to me that I had actually never thought about till you said it. I don't know why I had never thought about it. It's so obvious, but it's like one of the small details that you had said was, when you get there and you're setting up, don't go throwing your stuff on the tables that somebody has spent a lot of time getting
yeah.
all ordered because it's going to hack off whoever was part of place setting that thing, number one, because then they've got to come back in afterwards and do it. That seems like a small thing from a band. Don't just set your stuff, but it's a big thing in the picture. What are some of the other things that the small details that are important
Yeah.
that you pay
So
attention to?
like it's hard when you aren't in the wedding industry or the big event industry and or you yourself do not attend a lot of let's say fancy events. um you may not have any idea of what the etiquette in that space is. I certainly didn't when I got into this. I was a kid when
Mhm.
I entered this industry, and I had to learn one mistake at a time, how you should or shouldn't, things you can or can't say on the microphone that maybe, seem like no big deal, but it is to someone, right? We have to be considering those politics. But as far as like the musicians are concerned coming in, and we talk about uh, what you look like when you load in. You should be wearing your stage blacks, kind of looking like uh, back of house, like stage crew, right? Um, Closed toed shoes to avoid any injury, but also to look more polished. Everything should be clean, no logos. Um, and so we talk about we have a dress code for just loading in before we even get to the dress code of what you
Mhm.
look like on stage. But also, not having loud, obnoxious conversation on the stage while you're pushing in, that becomes a distraction to there's a vendor team out there that are thinking very hard and trying to communicate across this room, right? About, hey, I need seven more place settings over here. I need hey, this whatever it is. And they're trying to also do a good job. And so we don't want to come in and just be a big distraction, be loud. I mean, you create a reputation for being that also among
Mhm.
the vendors. Um, we had a wedding planner friend of ours come and speak to us at an event where you also spoke to the group. Um, and, she said something that would have never occurred to me. Again, these are things you go, I had no idea, could have never known. They had this velvety, furniture. You know how when you touch something velvety, if you brush it one way, it looks kind of
Mhm.
shimmery, and the other way it looks kind of flat. Well, imagine this, they had gone through and, like, literally combed the couches, at the event. This is soft seating, they're combing them, and then
Mhm.
our band members show up, get all set up, and then someone goes and puts their backside in it and makes a behind print right on the thing, and she came over and was like, "Hey, get out of the soft seating, that's for the guests," and in the moment, that seems really, like, unnecessary or over the top, but we didn't know that her and her team had spent all that time doing that, so the furniture looked nice. So there's all these things all the way down to, that's pretty minute, right?
Mhm.
You're into the
Yeah.
minutia at this point. Um, we have to be careful we're not being disruptive of the space that these people have spent many thousands of dollars and lots of energy and thought to create for them. So, yeah, I mean, we have we have to start almost from 0 with folks that come in to work here, who just have never even attended
Yeah.
an event, um, of the caliber that we're playing in. So, I certainly have never in my personal life, been invited to such an event and would not know these things if I wasn't so deeply
Yeah.
entrenched where I am, so
Well, and as musicians, until we grow up, we tend to think it's all about us and our own creative outlet and all that. And
yeah.
this is the opposite of that. This is about the audience on an extreme level. I mean, it should always be about the audience, no matter where you play. But this is a great. I mean, I would think any musician that goes through your organization, if they have an original project, they're going to be so much better for it because they're thinking about the audience. They're thinking about, what's going on with them and the crowd, which is just so key. Um, one thing like I'd love to shift to, is some of the conversations you and I have had about the shift in music interest with the new generation coming. This is fascinating to me. I've retold this so many times because
Have you really?
I have, yeah, because it's like, wow, that's actually giving me hope, honestly.
Me
um,
too. Yeah, yes, yes, yeah, so we are definitely in a shift. I think, I feel so old when I say things like this, but, the younger generation, our Gen Zers and, uh, some are even younger millennials are, I think truly this all stems from craving something that is feels a little more organic than the heavily produced manufactured, in a with 808s and things that we've been exposed to for so long, the formula pop, if you will. Um and what that looks like,
Real
well,
quick, 808, define that. Sorry for people
oh,
that
the
don't know.
drum machines,
Drum machine. Okay, good. Thank you.
Flow Rida, that, those are not
Yep.
probably, in most cases, not a real acoustic drum kit playing, or
Yeah.
even a drummer. It's just, being made on a computer or a device, drum pad kind of thing. And all the
Yep.
music's quantized, meaning it all lines up on a grid. And uh I think there's two parts to this. And I spend a lot of time researching what the next generations coming in of couples are gonna want. This is obviously extremely important. The music that we're putting out is everything. That is the product. So it seems like their parents now are no longer like Earth, Wind and Fire, 70s disco funk. That's a little old for their parents, who are more like, you know, 80s, 80s kids. And but it's hard to define. There's a lot of music in the 80s, and they will say to me on the calls, "We want classic rock." And I have to really drill down on what they think that
Mhm.
means,
Right.
because that, like, classic rock, as far as I'm concerned, when I was growing up, that was, you know, Led Zeppelin, and, all the way up to, like, Foreigner and Boston and Steve
Mhm.
Miller Band. It's all over the place, right? Um, but they may also mean, like, 90s rock, Pearl
Right.
Jam.
Right.
Those are being played on the classic rock station now. Nirvana, those like, Green Day. You go, so I have to really define what they mean when they say that. Sometimes they do mean the
Mhm.
classic rock that I, define as classic rock. Like, I had a groom the other day said Led Zeppelin. I like Led Zeppelin. Uh, and then the craziest thing to me is, and it took, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times of hearing this that I believed it, that they wanna hear Creed and Nickelback. And this was stuff that my generation, I mean, if I DJ'd that, they would have thrown tomatoes at me. They would have booed me out of the building. You would not dare play Creed or Nickelback. And because it got overplayed and shoved down our throats on the radio, when we were coming up. Um, but these guys are listening to it for, like, the first time over the,
Mhm.
and they're like, "What's I don't understand what's so this is what we like." And so wild. I did not believe them the first time that I thought they were trolling me. I thought they were goofing with me. I play Creed. I was like, "Is he serious?" So they like that.
Mhm.
Not everybody. This doesn't speak for this whole generation, but
Yeah.
we're hearing that often. And then their parents' music. So again, which can be anything from the Steve Miller Band, the Eagles, those kinds of things, in all the way into um, 90s rock, 90s
Oh.
alt
And
rock.
eliminating a lot of the millennial stuff, like, talk about some of the do not place, like Bruno Mars, right? He's on a
Oh,
do not
Bruno
play.
Mars has been on the no play list for, I think, 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, since, I mean, just right after COVID, we started hearing "Don't play Bruno Mars," and they were just I everybody was just so overexposed
Mhm.
to Bruno Mars. Which is it's a shame, because as a musician, this is really good stuff. I
Right.
mean, we're horn section, wonderful horn lines, funky grooves. This is perfect dance music, but they played it too much. And then the same thing happened to Lizzo. She also got herself into some, public drama. But the cancel culture is a thing too, where things come in really hard, like Sabrina Carpenter, and then she goes, takes a photo people don't like, and or she gets overplayed, and we're quickly, as quick as we brought it in, we're kicking it back out again. So navigating the new music is really a struggle. We almost just kind of avoid it. We're figuring out that the new music is just not it. Taylor Swift is always fine, if they're a
Mhm.
Taylor Swift fan. Of course, that's divisive too. You have
Right.
people that are like I get whiplash every week because I'll have, the couple the week before is going, "Play every Taylor Swift song you know," and then the very next week, it's in all capital letters, "No Taylor Swift." And the same is true for things like Sweet Caroline, they just what they really mean is they don't wanna hear cheesy stuff.
Right.
Uh, which we understand. We don't wanna play cheesy stuff either, so we're kind of on board with that. The Bruno Mars was a sad thing, not because um, I because it's so musically good, and it was so fun to play and dance to. I hope that that makes a comeback, and there's a point in time where he's not overplayed anymore and but I think it's gonna take 10 years. So, but yeah, navigating the music space is really tough now because
Mhm.
when we were coming up, there was just radio and billboard hits, and you could really quickly drill down on what would be popular to play. It wasn't a mystery. Now with streaming services, you really have to dig in and find out what is trending in their little groups. And I'm always surprised. Like, I'll give you an example. That song, like Heaven is a Place on Earth by Belinda Carlisle. Ooh, baby, you
Yeah.
know that song that you would never imagine. Like, that has shown up 10 times on the Must playlist recently.
Hmm.
And so I'm g and I the first time you hear it, you go, "Oh, random, okay." Fourth, fifth time you hear it, I go, "I guess we gotta put this in the show."
Yeah.
Um, so I take all that data that I collect from the clients, and I keep them on the phone for as long as I can, as long as they'll, entertain me. Uh I will ask them what they like. What do you and your friends like? What'd you like in college? What are some weird songs you like? And try to find out if these are things we should be putting in the show. But more than ever, and this is going to keep trending this way, they each have their own little taste of music that you go, okay, are we going to have to reinvent the wheel every week in order to is there going to be enough material that is broadly acceptable? So there's
Mm.
some of that scares me a little bit, and just for, sustainability, like, how much can we conceivably be changing the sets, month to month, every, and rehearse it well and all of that. And how often are we throwing out songs because somebody in pop culture got themselves into legal trouble, you know?
Right.
Those kinds of things that we weren't dealing with 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
music space is the Wild West, for sure.
Yeah. I know you're adamant about musicians not up there staring at a device too, and really knowing the songs. How have you navigated that, especially with such a large list?
Yeah, so this goes back to, like, not really it not being a good idea to always do every single request, that
Mhm.
a client has, because here you go again. Now we've got to pull out the iPads because you couldn't you could not truly expect people to memorize the charts and the words to these tunes in the short turnaround that we're asked to. So keeping those requests down to a manageable number is one way you keep iPads off the stage. Um, and just, driving that home with the band.
Yeah.
And lots of rehearsal. So what we're doing right now is writing our 2026 show. I'm writing it right now. And I'm going to start, you know, dishing this material out to them slowly, medley by medley, and have them, begin working on it in their private time. And then we will come into this office January, February, March is our slow season. And so we'll be using that time to prepare. And we're gonna run the songs so many times as a group. And you don't you take away the iPad, like, as soon as you can in the
Mhm.
rehearsal process and challenge them to do the song. Just try it. Just try it without the lyrics and
Right.
see what happens. See what's in there, um, because the iPad becomes a crutch. The more
Yep.
you have it, the more you need it. The more you have it, the more you need it. Like, so it's the sooner you can start removing that and relying on muscle memory, the better off you'll be. But yeah, if there is a time on stage, and I'm at the wedding and I'm taking video out in the audience and the band members have an iPad in front of them, I will not film them. I will not use that video because nobody wants to see that. So,
Mhm.
I'm on them all the time. Because a lot of times they'll use it for like the first dance song, which we do
Mhm.
not require them to memorize somebody's first dance song. They're going to do one time. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty, I think the clients understand that too. But then the iPad gets left there even though we're not using it, and I'm like, "No, it's an eyesore, get it out of here. We don't want people to even think that we're
Yeah.
using these." So, but yeah, the way you do that is you just if you're a performer, even if you're a solo performer, just take the iPad away. Just put it away and
Yeah.
see how you do without it. Like, give it a go on your first 10 songs of the night. Put the songs you think you're the most confident on, put that iPad away and get through them. I
Cool.
guarantee you, you know more than you think you do. The it's in there. So,
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that really helped me, and I've learned later why, but is I would I would write out. I use the number system for my own guitar charts, but I would hand write it out because it uses a different side of the brain than if I typed it out. I can't. Nobody else can really read it because it's not very neat, you know. But
yeah.
I'm not even planning on reading it. I'm just writing it out so that I've engaged that side of the brain to help remember, and that's been really helpful for me. Um, you know, I think what you're getting at here is anything we do to put a barrier to the connection to the crowd is not good, you know? So the iPad could be a barrier to the connection to the crowd. What are some of the other things that you guys do and you teach your crew on how to really just engage and connect with the people out there?
Yeah, I mean, we it starts with the right well, so there is something I think that some folks have, already in them, right?
Mhm.
Where they are just good at connecting, they feel comfortable connecting. And of course, we're looking for those folks. But uh, if that doesn't come naturally to you, I mean, the easiest thing to do is to write down some one-liners. Okay, things that you can say in between your songs. Don't be cheesy and try to say these things in a way that it's not like you're reading it off a script, but try to write down some really natural things to say in between your songs, until it becomes a habit. uh if it doesn't come naturally to be witty and have quips and things to say, um and it doesn't for me, it does not for me. So I definitely gave myself a list of things that I could kind of scroll through a Rolodex in my head of like, okay, you haven't said this for a while,
Mhm.
and just and talk to them because you can be a really incredible performer, a great singer, and unfortunately be a little bit forgettable if you are not
Mm.
interacting with that crowd. And there's always someone in the room that you can tell is more interested than everyone else in what you're doing. And you should use that to your advantage.
Mm.
Go interact with them, talk with them on your break, but also banter with them between songs. Like, I see you out there. I see you. I always identify them by their clothes. I see you plaid shirt getting down to this, like, and they're like, oh, they
Mhm.
noticed. And you start to develop that relationship with them.
Mm.
Uh, just little things like that. And then as you do this from, practice, and doing it because you wrote down that you should, uh, it becomes just ingrained, to where now, like, I can get up on a microphone and I can promise you there will not be dead air. I will find something to say. I
Yeah.
will find and I will find some person to land on to interact with, because I've just practiced it so much. So we instill that. I also so there are, folks that are new to us and folks who just struggle with this. But I've identified a couple people on our team that are very good at this, and we're gonna host a workshop actually in the next, like in January when we're slow,
Hmm.
um, to have them to do a table discussion with the vocalists about, interacting and what are some of everybody's tips, what are and just share, um, what they use, and the one-liners that work for them, and kind of come to a consensus on the things that, hey, if this is not your thing, here are some things for you that you can use that's working for Ashley and Adam and whoever. So,
Yeah. It's again, it's so cool to see you just light up when you talk about this stuff. So it's
uh,
obviously you're passionate about it, yeah, and you're always thinking of new ideas too. That's the other thing that I've really admired about what you've done with your organization is you're always your wheels are always turns like, okay, that was cool. What's next? What and you don't have to tell us what's next that you haven't done yet because obviously you know that's
yeah,
coming up.
no,
We'll find that out later. But
secret, yeah, right.
what you got coming up this next year that you're excited about that's new on the horizon for you guys that you've done if some things that maybe you've already done a little bit of what's happening for 2026?
Well, so in the last couple years, I mean, anyone who is in this scene now knows that we have this thing called the Sunday Serenade, where we put the singers on the individual mini stages and put them throughout the room for a cocktail, like dinner type experience, and make it more immersive, make it more of an experience than just an audio experience. Because if you
Mhm.
put musicians in a corner during cocktail hour, people will often just even forget there's live music there.
Yeah.
um, but you can make something really elevated if the musicians are spread around and one is standing right next to you, on this little 2 foot tall stage. So that's something that we've done that's worked really well and has created a lot of interest around the band. um, I will say it's hard, uh, to come up with new ways to make these weddings exciting. I mean, one of the things customers will say out loud to me is, "We wanna do something none of our friends have done." I had a mom tell me that over the weekend. They wanna bring us up to New York from Kansas City because they're tired of seeing the same bands and they wanna do something different, and they were here at a wedding and saw us.
Mhm.
So there's this desire among our clients specifically that they really want to wow their neighbors or, but do something no one's done before. So my brain is always active thinking about what is that gonna be? What could I
Mhm.
give them that they have not seen before? And also, and this goes all the way down to like when we're doing just like the party thing. Um, I in our 2026 show, I don't want to give anything away, but I make sure that there is some kind of moment built in. Making moments. We talk about it a ton. We talked
Mhm.
about it last year in band camp. We're going to talk about it again in this year in band camp. Uh, Making moments. And some of those happen organically. I leave room for those things to happen organically from the musicians, whatever is, they can think of in that moment. But we write in these moments into the show. I'll give away one example, because it won't be long before everybody sees this anyway. We've got Twice on Sunday sunglasses and that are logo branded. And probably know the song I wear my sunglasses. We've written in just one little snippet of that song into a very popular pop song right now. So there's this breakdown moment where we do the sunglass thing. Before we get to that moment, the band leader goes out and we're throwing these Twice on Sunday branded sunglasses out into the crowd.
Mm.
And so people are putting on these shades and thinking that they just got a cool prop because sunglasses is a thing that brides and grooms give away often as props at
Mhm.
weddings anyway, so this isn't unusual. But what is cute is that, there's this sunglass
Yeah.
moment and, maybe we turn around and get a picture of the whole crowd and the band, with their sunglasses on, and then they take those with them as a memento, right? But that's just one of the moments that we have a Chiefs moment in our show where if we're doing a wedding in Kansas City in football season, weddings often happen on Saturdays, the night before a big game. So we have a Chiefs moment in there. So we're trying to insert things to break up the monotony of just dance music,
Mhm.
which is what every wedding band is doing, just dance music throughout. So, that's part of the philosophy or the culture over here now
Mhm.
is making moments. So,
Yeah, I think that's key. I mean, I think that's why you're gonna be around for the long haul. Is just that you already been here a while. But I mean, you just the intent to keep evolving and keep growing is so important and no matter what kind of thing you're doing here, you know?
it is because when you're in this goes back to what I was saying just now, if the goal for some of these folks is to do something that has not been done, then we have to keep doing things that have not been done.
Mhm.
That is the currency. That's how we're gonna stay alive. If we just even if we invest, make a new show and we change the music over every year, that is not enough to maintain a status even. I think
Mhm.
the you know, if you do 200 weddings a year for 10 years in the same community, eventually people are going to go, yeah, yeah, we've seen that. We've seen it. And now your business is in trouble, right? Or you
Yeah.
have to start to look at outside markets where you're a novelty. And then you're traveling, which is, it's hard on everybody to do that traveling. It's very expensive to travel. It's expensive to the client who's buying you out of town. So the goal would be to keep up with being the novelty in your own uh marketplace.
Yeah. You know, we're coming up on an hour here and there's been so much gold here. No
Uh,
matter no matter what
I
kind of
can't believe it's
music.
been an hour.
What's that?
I can't believe it's been an hour.
I know. I mean, it's just been rolling, it's what I like to have happen on these. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, so much gold, no matter whether you're having any intentions of becoming, wedding band or musician, even original artist, there was so much here that I heard in this, everything that you're talking about that's beneficial. Any last thing you want to add in or thoughts or,
Uh, I would say if, uh, whatever you are doing in the music, uh, scene, just keep it intentional and connect with the audience as much as you can. I want to give this morsel away. So, this is something I learned over the weekend. How important connection is. And you touched on this. So, um, our social media following grows as a result of weddings every weekend, obviously, because the crowd sees us and then connects with us. Um, but I noticed something. We have one individual in particular in our organization. We do 4 bands a weekend. And it occurred to me that it was always the no matter what group that this person was with, there was always more followers the next day when that person's on the gig. And so I asked, "What are you doing?" I thought maybe they were going around and, like, "Hey, follow us on Instagram." And the answer is no. Um, they're just connecting with the audience on the stage so much. They're being a fan of the people in the audience versus trying to make them, like,
mm,
fangirling the bride. being the hype person for the people that are in the audience, and then talking to them off stage, not just running to the back room,
Mhm.
break. Obviously, take a break. Those are important. But as much as you can after the show, during the show, make those connections because you may be watching the more talented, according to you, the more experienced person that is your. So everybody has a competitor in mind. They could always think of the person or the band that they wish they could just be a little more like them. The fact is, if even if they, let's just say that group or that single person is way more talented, let's just say, than you or has more tools in their toolbox or whatever, um, you'll win the day every time by going out there, talking to the crowd, talking to them from the stage, and making real connections. That I
Mm.
think, I mean, I see it firsthand every weekend sending 4 groups out that there's this one individual
Yeah.
that does that so well that I have the data to confirm that this is how it's happening.
Hmm.
So, it's
That's good.
pretty valuable.
Yeah. I mean, I thought we had hit everything, but now we have. That was
Yeah,
that was
yay.
fantastic, and, what a great way to end it. Hey, thank you so much, Amanda. I
Thank
really
you
appreciate you being
for
here.
Yeah, thank you for
So
having me, and happy Thanksgiving.
so you've been listening to Gig Soap with Amanda Alvarez from Twice on Sunday. Thanks for joining us.